Hatta. So we've reached the fun part of the night. This is my favorite segment.
Same.
Yep. And we've reached the Pantang segment. Woo!
Yes.
Hey, thanks for clapping, guys.
I know, yeah. It's okay. All right. For this segment, we are very excited because we're going to get the help of our neighbors.
Yeah, wait, before we go there.
Sorry.
The first day. So the first day we spoke
Excited.
about the worst condolence messages that we have ever received, which or actually just one. One really bad condolence message that Hatta sent. Right, what was it, Hatta?
I didn't know, okay. I just sent stay strong.
Bye, bro. Bye. And then on the second day, which was yesterday, we explored what not to wear to a funeral.
And Gloria wore a red, flaming red scarf.
Yeah, I
well done.
Wardrobe limited. Okay, great.
So tonight
we'll be we're exploring questions not to ask at a funeral. And for that, we're going to call upon the help of our neighbors.
Yes.
Kakak,
Abang, Uncle.
Oh, baik.
Wah, silakan.
Buat macam rumah sendiri lah.
Yalah, you always come here, you know where to sit.
Yeah, you know what to do. Uncle, everyone here has a special role. They all know what their roles are. Kakak, you know Abang, you know sorry, Abang, you stand for a while.
Yeah. We need
Uncle,
a space,
your role, very special. You sitting there, okay, good. Now you just lean down. You can put pillow.
Put pillow.
Yeah,
Careful,
put pillow.
Uncle.
Careful, Uncle. Must be careful of Uncle.
Correct.
Yeah, okay, very good.
Okay.
Now, Uncle, close your eyes.
Yeah.
Close your eyes. Okay, fantastic.
Cannot smile.
Yeah, no smiling.
Yeah. Good.
If you smile, we know that you're not focused. Okay, fantastic. So what we're going to do is, Molly has posted online the question of what are the worst questions to ask at a funeral, and I believe you and Adi have both gotten some responses, and me and Hatta, we've also got some responses as well.
Yes.
Kita pun ada.
Ada juga.
Ada. So we want to share with everybody.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. If you are ready, we know what to do.
Yeah, we'll just act out the scenario.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yalah, scissors, paper, stone, who go first? You go, you team leader.
We let the older ones go first.
Okay, let them go.
Okay, so Hatta, please.
I never call you out.
Okay.
Okay,
it's all right.
Okay,
thank you. All right.
Okay. Hatta, you okay or not? Just want to ask you. You got iPhone cable?
Okay, next scenario.
Oh.
Who wants to cry first? I cry first.
Oh, okay. Wait, she cried better than you.
Suria drama.
Kak, Toma tanya Kak. Jadi, rumah ni dah habis bayar belum?
Next. Okay. I try to cry. I use props.
Wow, use props.
Uncle.
Gloria.
Uncle, why?
Gloria.
Yeah.
What was his weight?
Okay lah, you coach lah.
Yeah.
You coach, so of course you like health fitness, so you ask people what their weight. Okay.
Strong silent type.
Oh, wow. So focused.
Yeah. Wow.
Bang, ubat-ubat dia masih ada tak? Boleh kasih saya?
Oh, wow.
Don't want to waste lah that one. Don't want to waste.
Yeah, don't want to waste.
Good. Sharing is good.
Yeah, sustainability.
Okay, now my turn.
Okay, cry. Go all out. I don't want to enter. Dia ada nangis saja. See how much you can cry. Do I go? Okay lah, I go. Hatta, we ordering bubble tea. You want? Uncle, you want bubble tea? Uncle, why you laugh? You're supposed to stay focused.
Okay, last one.
Last one, yes. Last one.
Okay, last one, okay.
So I cry,
Okay.
Okay lah. This time I the silent one also.
Wow. Better.
Wow.
This one very surreal.
Yeah.
Very surreal drama.
Hey, adik-beradik dia semua mati sama kan?
Okay.
Ayah.
those were some of the examples. Like some
yes,
were
yes,
made up
Uncle,
lah.
thank you, Uncle.
Yeah.
Yes, thank
Some
you,
were
Give
made
him a
up.
round of applause,
Round
please.
of
Yeah, round of applause for
our-
Uncle and scene Uncle. Fantastic. Yeah, so these are some of the things that we've heard or that were shared with us.
Yeah.
We're wondering, maybe open to the audience lah.
Yeah, we
Kita
should,
tanya je lah.
yes.
What were some of the worst condolence messages that you've ever heard? Online.
Or what were some things you've heard or questions at the funeral that just
Yes.
boggles your mind that people would even say that, right?
Yeah.
The worst things you've ever heard. Or like, maybe some people at home, they don't deal with absolutes, it's okay. What do you think is really bad to you? Yeah.
What did he die from?
Oh, yeah. Hey, you cry.
Yeah.
We try. You cry.
I
Uncle, lean back, Kennedy.
I do silent also.
You do silent. You do silent. Okay, you cry. Oh yeah, silent. Hey, how he die? Yeah, that's quite bad. Yeah, I could feel it as well as I said it. I felt really bad as well.
That's quite bad, but actually it's one of the most common things that we hear, right? Yeah. And how do we deal with something like that?
I don't know. How do we deal with something like that?
I mean, the question that came up when we first talked about this was like, the reaction that somebody shared was, it was a very selfish question to ask, right? Your curiosity about how it happened superseded the respect for that person grieving.
Yeah, like personal, like your curiosity as opposed to what the person needs. Yeah. How do you think we could have countered that? Like if you want to know, what's some options? I don't know.
What do you really need to know at that moment?
I need
Maybe
to
the person
know.
do survey.
Can we start online
funeral,
polling
yeah.
manager? Can we do online poll now?
Because this is, I think, it's such a common question. It's like, can you imagine you are grieving and it's like the first person that comes, how did he pass away? And then the second person, how did he pass away? What happened?
Yes.
Have you taken care of him? And this question, and the person who is grieving, it's like, are you giving
The
space
person,
actually?
the person really.
Yeah.
What happened?
Knowing my own personality, I'll just type it out and post it on the door. Don't ask me. This is all the information you need. If you want to see,
No,
then you come
correct.
in.
No, before they come in, they sign form. List out all the things. Don't ask these questions. Okay, you
Yeah.
know. Okay, then.
Or
then
scan
you
QR
can
code,
come in.
right?
Yeah.
Scan QR code. Oh, so dia macam gini lah, dia mati. Oh, patom dia mati.
Any others? Any other really, really like shocking things that you've heard?
No, we can. That was actually quite a bad one as well. Yeah, I agree with you. What
Is there
about
anything
online?
Is
Anyone
there-
see anything
yeah,
online?
Yeah.
Let me check.
Ooh,
Today is very quiet.
Oh,
wait, got the other neighbor.
the neighbor. The
Come in,
side
lah, people
neighbor.
cannot see. Come in, people cannot
Come
see you.
in. Last day, come in.
Just come in. Why?
Can I
Still
just
there?
add on
Yeah.
this question to ask? I think sometimes people, in order to want to express that they have a concern, they may really want to ask you a question so that you would be preoccupied. But the family probably during that moment are actually very, very distracted already with a lot of things. And though that question is really bad, but sometimes the family would want that opportunity, in some way, to express what has been inside their mind. So they would, if given a right situation, right conditions, actually they wouldn't mind sharing what happened. I think it's more about how we can actually create a space to allow them to share what they have gone through. And I realize that, sometimes family who took that opportunity to share, it allows them to start that little process of actually processing what had happened over the last 1 to 2 days. Because those moments were really, really, it moves so fast that, it keeps going inside your head and you keep trying to think through all these things. I mean, that was what happened with my dad, right? So as you were thinking through and when people start talking to you, and then that's where you start chatting, and then you start processing it, and that really helps you in a way to understand where you are at that moment. So I think in two ways, there is also, as person who is going through that grieving process, sometimes let's take it both ways. Well, the person may not, may be curious, but that person may also be really wanting to say that, I do want to hear what you've gone through so that, I can, be in support with, be supporting you.
I think it comes down to intention, also the intentionality of the question, which I guess is also what we have to apply to any of these questions, right? Like for some of, we can question the intentions of some of these questions that have come on online. For example, Diana shares that some might say, hey, why the face like that? And that is something that it borders on being very tactless, but at the same time also it could come from a place of curiosity and a bit harder for us to try to find that concern from that. Whereas another question that Razi shared was, where were you when he died? And depending on when that question is asked, it could go either way. If you ask like a few months later when the person has started to process and it's a legitimate concern question, then yes. Yeah. But if it was immediately, it could come off as, why? What is that supposed to mean?
Yeah. What are you insinuating as well, right? Yeah, because at that moment, that's what you're focused on.
Exactly, and it's like, especially if it's a sudden passing or something that happened that we didn't have any control. But I think it brings me back to questions not to ask at a funeral, right? Then actually, when should questions be asked that could actually show this care? Because we talked about legacy and talked about leaving behind wishes. And maybe it's about asking questions about those wishes before we even get there. And from where these questions are coming from, I think that's very important.
Maybe also one thing that I thought, I realized that, since we were young, we were never taught how to talk about loss. You lose a pet, your mom will say, okay, accept it and move on. We've never really learned how to console someone or how to even console ourselves in loss. And so that's why when you have to go for a funeral, right, you start to get very nervous, right? What should I wear? How should I be? Because we were never taught how to talk about that. And it's since young, whether it is your pet dog, whether it is your toy, sometimes your mom will just throw away your toy and say, it's just old. But as a kid, that may mean so much to you. And nobody actually helped you to process that. When you can't process that, you also don't know how to actually extend the same kind of generosity to another person or that kind of support to another person. So I guess this thing, Pantang, sometimes what we are talking here is about a kind of taboo that has been put in, deep-rooted, and sometimes it's over many years, and we have to learn somehow to talk about it before we can break this kind of taboo.
Thank you very much, Gloria and Hatta. I think we shall leave you to continue the
Yes, then the neighbor must go back and cook.
Yeah.
Oh,
yes,
okay.
hey, thank you.
You cook what, Share lah.
Sampedas.
Abang, sampedas. Wow.
Thank you, Kaka.
Later, save some.
Okay, see you.
Thank you,
Thank you, Abang, Kak.
Thank you, Uncle.
Uncle.
Yeah. It's funny that he said about how come the person's face like that. I was actually posed a question like that too. So a late best friend of mine, motorbike accident was pretty bad. And I remember someone asking me like, wow, it wasn't a question, but it was more of like a statement like, wow, so many stitches on the face. Wow, that kind of broke my heart at that moment as well. So, yeah.
I think we just have to be a bit more tactful.
Sensitive and tactful,
yeah.
perhaps. Yeah,
I think the best thing is, let's say you don't know what to say, just go there, pay your respects, and just keep quiet.
Keep quiet.
Yeah.
Then just don't say stay strong.
Yeah, don't say
stay strong. Don't say cheer up.
Yeah, just
what was it you were telling me backstage? You want to just give them cut?
Yeah,
just turn up.
I think just give them a cut. At least the cut is written. Yeah, so
actually, no. To be honest, just sometimes the presence is more than enough to me.
Correct.
But that's just my personal opinion.
Same.
Okay,
Gloria. Next
move
up.
on.